Hey Kriegers, Rover here and welcome back to another video. First, I want us to say this. Happy birthday to the Octo Expansion, and to celebrate, we will show you guys how we made a diorama of the NILS-statue of the Octo Expansion. But it's going to be a long video, so let's get started. First thing we wanted to make was the eye catcher of the statue, the head. For this I used a foam head that I used for storage of masks and coated this with aluminum foil to protect it, and then went over it with a layer of clay. First I focused on getting the whole thing covered in clay. And second, I used some water to smooth out the clay and get a nicer look on the face, and to exaggerate the shapes of the face, like the eyes and the mouth. After I had the face where I wanted it, I divided up the rest of the clay and rolled these out into strings that are curled up to make the hairs of the statue. This was used to fill up the whole rest of the statue. When I was finished with this, I used some tools to scorch the build lines into the face of the statue. And I used a set of pincers to scorch the hairlines into the curls. After I let this dry, it was time for the face to be opened and taken off the foam head. For this I used an old knife on a box cutter to cut out the middle line that will split the head, but not completely, because the chin of the statue opens up, so it would be easier if I just take it out now. But that didn't make the job any quicker, because it took quite some persistence to get the head separated. But in the end, we did it. Next, when the inside was drying, I started to work on some of the decorations. First up, the cannon. For the cannon, I grabbed a small PVC pipe to use as a base and wrapped it up with some steel wool. Next, I used some 1mm EVA foam to create a cone, of which I cut the top off. Next, I attached this to a cylinder of foam, which I had already glued to the pipe. Then I made the end of the cannon with some 5mm foam. I drew this on with a compass and a pencil and then cut it out with my X-Acto knife. And I used a sharp new box cutter to cut out the textured back and the angle of the three ends of the cannon. To finish this off, I used some hot glue to attach it to the pipe and then painted it with silver. One mm EVA foam to make the rest of the blender. First by almost surrounding the lid of the container and then adding a circle to the bottom and cutting straight the open part and gluing a rectangle on this to close off the underside. Then to decorate the blender I added 3 buttons to the underside, a dial in the middle and a foam edge on the top of the container. Then I repeated this 3 times to get all 4 blenders. Then after a heat coat for the foam, I sprayed the blenders black and used some painter's tape to cover the plastic to keep this clear. When this had dried, I took off the tape and used some turquoise paint to add some extra details. Off camera, I added a back to the cannon made from some foam board, some extra glue and an extra piece of plastic that I had laying around to use as a window. And to finish this off, I used some blue paints to add the Amiibo logo. Warning, the next scene can be seen as graphic for some people, so if you have a fear of this, please skip to 12:54. For the next part I had to cut off the top of the head of the statue to be able to place the oil platform. For this I used my box cutter for the thicker curls and my grind disc on my Dremel tool for the rest. Sorry, I need to get a good view on this. So, after all the clay was removed, I also removed the excess foil. and I added back the curls that had fallen off. I also used some black 1mm EVA foam to cover up the aluminum foil that was now visible in all the openings. Finally, it was time to start on the body of the statue. For this I used some foam board that I have curved up and divided into two to form the body and the arm of the statue. I used my X-Acto knife to cut out a hole for the statue to be added. Next I used an X-Acto knife to cut out a hole for the statue to be added in. And I glue the pieces together to end up like this. When those were all glued together, I used some foam board with some EVA foam to make a helicopter landing platform and attach this with some skewers to act as the supports. The same skewers I used to create the work in progress support system at the top of the arm with horizontal and vertical supports. The same was made on the top of the head. And speaking of the top, I added 3 containers, an electricity house and a manhole lid as extra decoration to the platform. Oh, why not add some electrical wiring? But this project isn't decoration alone. This is also going to be something where you can place and store your amiibos. So I added 3 rings which you can place your amiibos in. One on the top, one on the helicopter platform and one on the arm. Next I glued the face plates on the cheek and tested the fit of the cannon. But the cannon can be shooting nothing, so let's make Tartar's ultimate lifeform sludge. For this I just used some hair gel with some turquoise ink. And I filled up the blenders with this substance. I also added some as a decoration to the statue, but this can better be done after the painting because otherwise this just gets all mixed up. When those were all filled up, it was time to glue them to the cannon. But something was still missing when I looked back at the reference pictures. And then I saw what I was missing, the orange pipes. So those were up next. For these I cut out 5 1 cm wide circles of 1 mm EVA foam and glued this only to the undersides to get these to curve in a line. To finish off these, I went over them with a brighter orange, and when they was dry, I glued them to the cannon. Next, I went and put a base coat of black spray paint over the statue. Continuing with this painting, a clay color was added to the statue. This was very important to get with a large brush, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get into all those nooks and crannies with the curls. When I had done this 3 more times, I started to add some dark red to the support skewers to make them more metal-like. I also added this red to the support EVA foam that I added on the top of the head. When I was done with this painting, I grabbed some other colors with some red and blue and went over the wires on the top of the head. But next, some advertising. This video is sponsored by the Amiibo Corporation. Have you ever gotten into a situation where you wake up in the underground metro station and you can't remember anything? No worries! With this service provided by the Amiibo Corporation, we will be able to provide you with a nice new code name. Wait, I mean literally a code for a name. Isn't that right, number 10,008? And above that, they will be able to provide you with a Amiibo card and a CQ80, which will give you complete access to the deep sea metro. And the only thing you will have to do in trade for this amazing service is to do some minor little tests and find 4 fangs. It's just that simple. So what are you waiting for? Go to your nearest Amiibo Corporation station and see this amazing world that the Amiibo Corporation has created on your journey to the promised land. But now back to the project. Next for the decorations are some metal support beams that we are going to paint on the back of the hand. Hey, the Amiibo Corporation only hired me to recreate the NILS-statue, not to ask questions. But after those are applied with some silver paint, we are going to use some green mixed with some turquoise to make the lights in the supports. And to make those a bit more interesting and especially safer, we are going to add some rails to the helicopter platform. And as a finishing touch, we are going to use a large piece of foam board to make the sea that the statue rises out of. For this, I'm using some hot glue to make the waves, but I would suggest that anyone else uses some clay for this, because this can be very dangerous and leave you with burns if not done right. I just was in a very large hurry, so I just threw out my own safety, but don't do this yourself. And then for some final details, we are going to also cut some 1.5 cm foam circles and spray these with silver. And now I'm adding some turquoise energy lines on them to be placed on the cheeks of the statue. And after waiting on some black spray paint to dry on the sea, we can add some green to get the color of the water and add some white on the top of the waves to finish the effect off. And as a final step, we can glue the statue to the sea, we can add the power discs to the inside of the cheeks and finish the project by adding the cannon. And with this, I can officially announce the NILS Diorama finished! Hey Creator Gears, Robo here, and we hope you enjoyed the video. Again, happy anniversary to the Octo Expansion, and cheers to seeing the amazing Octolinks back in Splatoon 3. And for an update on the giveaway from the previous episodes, the winner is being contacted as the video is posted. And to the others who joined, thank you for showing your interest and appreciation in our creations, and we hope to be able to give you guys something with the next giveaway. Well, that's going to be all for us. Keep those creative gears turning. See you in the next video.